Saturday Night Live was a big thing. That was a very special thing because if you got to stay up late, it was rare because you had to go to bed early when you were a little kid. But my dad, for the most part, and my mom sometimes would let me stay up and watch late night television. And so once I was sort of old enough, my father and I watched Johnny Carson a lot, and then once David Letterman came around, that was a big part of my comedy vocabulary as well. And Saturday Night Live was the constant. It started in 1975. I was 4. I never really watched the first couple seasons, but once I was 6, 7, 8, I remember going to the parties with my dad, and the TV would be on in the background, and I would kind of separate myself from the adults and just go sit in front of the TV and really pay attention to something I thought was very, very special because it was only on once a week. It was live, so you couldn't, there was no such thing as reruns, and certainly no such thing as the internet or YouTube or anything that you could watch it again. If you didn't see it, you missed out. You had to read about it in the newspaper or something like that. So it was big if you actually got to see it because you could tell your friends you got to see it. I remember the first time I hosted Saturday Night Live, I think it was in 2009 or 2008, right around in there. I'm not exactly sure on the dates, but it was very kind of out-of-body experience wandering around Studio 8H and thinking and seeing all the photographs on the wall and realizing that you're kind of part of the history of that show, the 40-year history of that show. SNL is another outlier in the television community. It's live television. I've had the very good fortune to host the show 3 times and come back and be on it several other times, and then also do 2 live 30 Rocks. 4, actually, if you consider each one, because we did 2 shows at a time, one for the East Coast and one for the West Coast, but that's neither here nor there. But live television is a incredibly energizing and completely different experience, far more similar to doing theater than shooting a television show. And again, with Saturday Night Live, it's really part of it is really understanding that you're becoming, or you're being invited into this incredible historical thing that's so unique, and really being aware that it's special, whether or not it's successful or funny or this, that, or the other. It doesn't matter. It's just that you can say that you've done it. Lorne Michaels would always say, like, we don't go on at 11:30 on Saturday nights because we're ready. We go on because it's 11:30. You're like, oh, okay. 11:30 rolls around, you're going to put on a show one way or the other. The sets could fall down, and something could break a leg, and this could happen, and that could happen, and whatever could happen, and you got to roll with it.
Didn't he make you change a character like minutes or something before?
Yeah, that's an apocryphal story at this point now, but that's what happens between dress and air. Things change. You have a dress rehearsal at 8, that goes till 10, then you have a live show at 11:30. The dress rehearsal is 2 hours and change long, so obviously things get cut, things get moved around, and you have to kind of, it's a game of Tetris. These things it's live. A 2-minute sketch could be 2 minutes and 30 seconds with laughs and with something going wrong and whatever. So everything kind of moves and adjusts, and it's an incredibly different, exciting live medium, and I loved it. I was very, very happy to be not only asked to do it, but to be asked back twice. So it was very cool, very exciting, and again, if my 39-year-old self, or however old I was when I first hosted, could look back and tell my 13-year-old self that you would be at Studio 8H and hosting the show, and I would have lost my mind. But I'm certainly glad I got the opportunity.